This video is going to be part 2 of comparing similar shades side by side, older versus newer formulation, if there is a shade change. The reason I do this is because every single time I recommend a shade and the brand has switched it up, I'm not aware of that, and a lot of people kind of insinuate that I am the one who's edited it and changed up the shade, but it's actually like sometimes with time the brand has actually switched up the shade itself. So now this way even I would be more aware when I'm recommending a shade and how the older shade looked, how the newer shade looked, and I do dupes videos so often, so I wouldn't necessarily use these as dupes anymore. Now let's get to the swatches. First one we have is by popular demand, Nykaa Jade Rose. I'm not sure if you're able to spot a difference, but the newer shade has changed up a little bit. It's not as muted as the older shade was, and it doesn't have as much red to it. It's become a little bit more mauve and a little bit deeper. Next up we have Nykaa Chai. Problem with this formulation is that I was never able to get it to dry down completely on my lips to actually admire the beauty of the older shade, but I can visibly see a difference in the newer shade. It doesn't have as much, brown to red undertones to it like the older shade has. It is a little bit more muted now and has more of like a pale brown undertone to it. So next up, comparing old Bombay versus the newer Bombay shade. The newer one is not as pink toned as the previous shade is. It one has a little bit more of a mauve undertone to it. Actually, I like the newer shade on my skin tone. I feel like it's a little bit more wearable for me. Next up, also from Nykaa, we have a very popular shade called Madras Kaapi, which was like, my lips but better kind of a shade, like a very perfect nude shade for my skin tone, but I was never able to use it completely because this dries down a lot in the tube itself, and this is the pigmentation I could get out of it, but it is a beautiful nude shade. The newer shade is, however, again a very nice nude shade but a little bit more cool tone, so I'm not sure how many people would like that. Next up, my all-time perfect nude shade, like I reach out for this so much, Swiss Beauty Spice Nude. The newer shade you can see is visibly a little bit more on the paler warm brown side. And the next one we have is another popular shade from Swiss Beauty, which is Brandy Harrington. I feel like the newer shade is a little bit deeper right now, not like the previous shades, so I'm not sure from the time I received this, like this was sent to me by the brand, if it has been changed again. Lastly, we have MAC Ruby Woo. Yes, the newer formulation is a little bit more comfortable and easy to apply on the lips, but I somehow really like the retro matte formulation. Like I like that pigmentation and the intensity of the pigmentation that it delivers and the kind of red it is. Let me know if you want me to compare some other lipstick shades side by side in the comments down below. Be very specific. What are the shades you want me to compare?